Hello, and welcome to this OpenTopography video. My name is Chelsea Scott, and in this video, we're going to be looking at how point cloud resolution controls how well we can see different features along the ground surface. And in this video in particular, we're going to be looking at the Walker Art Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we're going to be looking at this particular sculptural fountain shown here, which is the Spoonbridge and Cherry. So note the spoon and then the red cherry. And we're going to be looking at two data sets to see how they each recorded this sculptural fountain. The first is the 2011 Minnesota Department of Natural Resources spanning the Twin Cities metro area. And this was a NOAA data set, and it has about 10.5 points per square meter. And it was collected in the first few months of November in 2011. The second data set that we'll be looking at is the Minnesota Central Mississippi River. This data set has a very high point density of 64 points per square meter. And this data set was collected over a few weeks in May of 2022. So we're going to be looking at how that spoon bridge looks with these two data sets in Poetry. All right, so here we are in Poetry, and we're looking at that first data set with about 11 points per square meter. And here we can just cruise around and see what it looks like. And in particular, we do see a quite well-defined spoon. And we can see the top of the cherry. You can also look at the data attributes for this point cloud. So here we are looking at elevation, which is the default to see, and the blue areas are the low elevation, so that's going to be the ground, and then the high elevation, which in this area is the top of the cherry, which is in red. So let's see what else is in this data set. RGB. So there is no color, so we cannot see that red cherry on top, and it is quite standard that a LiDAR dataset does not have color. And if it does have color, it was collected with a camera that is separate from the standard LiDAR, typically near-infrared sensor. Let's see, classification. So here we have our data set now colored by classification. Can come here and look at. So you can see here in gray are unclassified points. The brown are ground points. And then the vegetation are shown in different colors of green. And interestingly here, the spoon and the cherry were classified as vegetation. And then here, these pink is the noise. So let's briefly turn on all the data sets or all the classifications again. And then we can also look at return number. So in this case, yellow represents points with a single return. It may reflect how the data set was collected, with them all being classified, or with them all having just a single return. All right, so now let's look at that second data set. So this is the more recent data set collected in 2022 with 64 points per square meter. In this case, can zoom around, and we can see that we have a much better image or shape of both the spoon and more definition of the cherry. We have this set of points here, which are likely to be noise. And we can also look at the attributes for this data set. So here we have classification. And like many 3-depth data sets, here we have two classifications. The ground are the brown points, which includes the ground as well as the water then the fountain structure. And then we have the gray, which are unclassified. And this is going to be small amounts of vegetation and then our sculpture here. And let's look at return number. So here also many of the points are yellow. And so these are going to be points with only a single return. And then the red, blue, and green are different returns from points with multiple returns. That concludes this video. Thank you for watching.